Bless you.
I'm coughing.
I know. I still
You're one of those.
I still want you to be blessed.
Mm.
Is that okay?
I mean, it's fine, I guess.
Yes,
You know how blessed you got started?
Please do tell.
It was during the bubonic plague. Priests, they used to wear these big long masks. Like, have you ever seen like one of those big long bird masks and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
That started during the plague back then, because they would basically use it to stay away from people. And whenever somebody would sneeze, they would say "bless you," as in literally, "God bless you," because we think you might have the plague.
Mm.
And that's where it got started. Obviously, it's not where it ended, but it is where it got started.
Gotcha. Well, obviously, Janessa didn't give a damn. She just walked straight off. So there's that.
Yeah, she didn't.
I already know. I was trying to check something.
Well, now that
She
you're
didn't
back,
care. She didn't care at all.
Magic words, please.
Boom chakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
I don't know why I took a bite of my sandwich right when it was time to start. But welcome, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all over the world. Thank you once again for joining us here at the Worst Ones Podcast. If this is your first time here, we are PK's Preacher's Kids who are apparently the worst. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am a host. We have Janessa Rowland. She's a host. We got Terry Weezy. He's a
I am
host.
nothing. I'm nothing.
He
I just show up.
He's here, and Kellie Lee should be here momentarily, and she's also a host. So yeah, we're
not
here,
for long with this attendance record.
Gotcha.
That.
What, Janessa? How art thou? How was your week?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. You know, I decided that February was going to be the month that I get it together. You know how January people got their New Year's resolution and all. I kind of missed that. So February, you know, we in there. And so I'm actually doing, and I wish Kellie was on to tell her, but I'm doing Berean's 14-day fast that they just started on Monday of Monday of this week. So I've been doing that and been intentional about my workout and my wellness and trying to eat better. You know, it's going pretty well. So
I don't
complaints.
I don't have much confidence in this fast because you don't even know what day it started. So like, how do we know? how do we know you even started on the right day? Like,
So because I never know what day of the week it is. This whole COVID and teleworking, like,
okay,
is it Wednesday or is it Thursday? I don't know.
Okay. I feel that. I got you. All right. Well, you definitely sound better. I mean, I feel like this fast is helping you out. Most of the time, not say most of the time, but for some weeks now, you've definitely came stressed, under pressure with school, moving.
Yeah, that's why I had to refocus. I couldn't do that. I had to get it together.
And for the record, I mean, it was just Chinese New Year, so you can technically say you're
right. New Year's resolution.
you started with them, so I get it.
Started, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
right. That's what's up. And then what does the fast consist of? Like, what is it? So,
you know, each day you fast from something. I think Monday was, oh Lord, Monday was.
Lord have mercy.
What was Monday? I just did it. Well, I can tell you what today is. Today is water only. Okay.
Oh wow.
So today's water.
I thought you said you're only giving up something. That's giving up everything. Just water.
But it's only for today. So I'm trying to think. Yesterday was Lord, why can't I think about this?
That is.
Yes,
Because you
for
don't
me,
want to. You don't
for
want to
me,
think about
I actually modified it. So
you don't-
yesterday for me was no bread. And then the day before was meatless Mondays. So yes.
You need to get your lie together before you get on this podcast. Okay?
It's not a
So
lie. Kelly can confirm, I promise.
What's
Or
up,
she
Kelly?
should be.
So it's like Lent. I said, so it's like Lent.
This is just the way they're doing it.
No,
So Kelly, I
hers
was
is-
telling them that I'm doing Brienne's fast. Yeah.
She's
So
not.
I was
she like Berea got a fast. You talking about our Berea?
All right, meatless Monday, no bread.
Yep, it's on the website.
Okay, what else is on the agenda for the week?
Lord have mercy. This is why she is definitely the worst one, okay, out of all of us.
You know, I was thinking we could do it together, me and Kelly, and she over here didn't even know what's the thing.
I thought I saw something on the Instagram page.
Today is nothing but water. You obviously see she's eating, so I mean.
Oh yeah.
So
Not only water, I think. Oh, Lord, if it's only water, then I done messed up. I thought it was you can only drink water to drink.
Janessa is not on this fast like she thinks she is.
Let me hold on a second.
You worse than Kelly. All right, Terry. Terry, how you doing, sir? Are you actually doing something legit? Or are you over here lying like
I'm
Janessa?
not.
No, I am back on keto. Strangely enough, like right back. I put on about 25 pounds during this whole incident. So, you guys, nobody's alone here. So I'm back on keto because, the people I recommend it to usually works for 2/3 of them, but it seems like there's 30 to 35% of people that it just doesn't work for. Mm-hmm. Like your body doesn't react to it. But man, you talk about dropping weight fast. I mean, you're talking about dropping 20 pounds in like 3 or 4 weeks. Gotcha. Pretty quickly. So I'm doing that again. I have revived my poker career, which, has made me some money here lately. So that's fun. Easy way to make a living. And that's about it for me for the week.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Janessa and Kelly, do y'all know how to play poker? I don't either.
Well, I mean, I've been playing it since I was 14, and I've been playing it in card rooms since I was 18. So it does take a while to kind of master, but once you do, like I went twice this week and I'm up 600. So, it's not a bad way to do things for something you enjoy, No,
I've just never played, so I don't even know like the rules. I just know how to play spades, Uno, and blackjack. That's it.
Yeah, I know how to play those two. I'm pretty good at spades, actually. I started playing spades when I was in middle school.
Why you say actually like we wouldn't believe you? You can be good at spades.
I guess. Let's just put it this way. Because I grew up in such a heavily populated Black community, they were usually pretty surprised when they found out I was good at spades, because it does seem to have a moniker on it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's more definitely celebrated, I would say, in the Black community as far as like a game that we definitely gonna play. But but in my mind, I don't think I ever thought that anybody outside of Black people could be good at spades. Like, I guess for me, I just never thought about it. But I get it though. I get why.
It's the same thing with dominoes. It's like when I remember I was dating a Cuban girl, and I went down and played dominoes with her family, and that's I know dominoes is big in the Black community as well, but it is humongous in the Cuban community. Like, it's the thing you do.
That's because they don't play spades. We go back and forth. They just do straight domino.
yeah, they just play dominoes. But the fact that I was good at that kind of, they were like, "Oh shit, look at this gringo,"
Yeah. Sarah, the only thing we were surprised that you could do was cook. That was it. Cards, we can believe that.
Typically, any game that revolves around math, I'm usually pretty good at. So, yeah.
All right. Well, Kelly Lee, how's your fast going?
But speaking of Terry cooking, every time I pull out some of the seasonings that he brought to my house, I'm like, "Oh, Terry!" As I grind my pepper,
and you are welcome.
My little paprika. I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Terry. I appreciate it." He definitely gave me the upgrade on the grind with the pepper. I just get the little,
That's so easy. No, don't ever buy ground pepper ever for no reason. They sell it in the grinder now. There's no reason to ever buy ground pepper.
No, you have updated me. I grind it myself now. I'm hooked.
Yeah,
I'm hooked. I appreciate it.
It's so much better. Wait till I get you on ground cumin. Oh my God.
Okay.
Never buy powdered cumin. You can buy the seeds, toast them in a pan, and then just throw them either in a mortar pestle, which is what I do, or you could throw them in a coffee grinder or a blender or anything like that and powder it yourself. And it's a million times better, and it costs less to buy the seeds than the powder anyway.
It sounds like it's a lot more work.
It isn't. It takes about 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's literally nothing. By learning to cook, there are so many things that I do now that I'll never buy store-bought again, just because all it takes is like 10, 20 minutes maybe of effort. Like I make my own salsa now. I'll never buy jarred salsa again. Because if you have a food processor, it takes like 15 minutes to make your own salsa and you're good for the year. I mean, you're good for the week.
Yeah.
You're good for the week in about 15 minutes. It costs you less. It's way better, and it's better for you because it's not processed. So guacamole, salsa, and even tortilla chips. I make my own tortilla chips now.
Send me the salsa recipe for sure.
I will.
Put it out this weekend.
Do you have a food processor?
I can pick one up.
They are cheap. You can usually get them for about $20.
Yeah,
so.
I can pick one up. But I love salsa. So fresh salsa from the house sounds really, really good.
Oh yeah, and my salsa's fire. I'm just I know
we believe you now.
I know I'm 40. I'm not supposed to say that, but I'm saying it.
We believe you now.
Oh, now you believe
you now.
Yeah. Oh, I had to come up there and prove it first.
Exactly.
Yep. It is?
You had to earn that.
I actually thought about Kelly the other day because it was late. I did a comedy show. I got back at like 11 o'clock. I was I was tired, but I was starving. And I just had a few random ingredients, so like just some flour and some baking soda and baking powder and stuff. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to make pancakes. And I thought about you and teaching you how to make proper pancakes. Yeah, but they were so good. And I didn't even teach you the right way because you had like a mix.
Right, I said mine was from the box.
Yeah, yours was from the box. It wasn't good.
Yeah, it was from the box.
But if you've got milk and you've got white vinegar, you can make buttermilk pancakes because you take like a cup full of milk and throw like a tablespoon and a half of vinegar in there, and it'll curdle the milk and make it look really gross. But that's basically buttermilk that you just made. You throw that in there. Oh my God, it's so good.
I did that actually like a week ago because I didn't have buttermilk and I wanted pancakes.
Yeah, it's so good when you do it at home.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna listen to this back and then get the ingredients. No, send me the pancakes and the salsa.
Pancakes.
Do you sift your flour?
I don't. Because when I make pancakes, like I told Kelly, you want those lumps in there. Never over mix your pancake batter. Ever.
I double sift mine because I like them airy.
No. No, you don't get them airy that way. But
I like the way I make mine.
Well, then I'm just saying, don't be closed-minded. Try this out. Don't sift it. Put it in there. Mix it just a little bit to where it's cohesive, but it still has lumps in it, and leave those lumps. Because once you heat it up, those lumps, they burst. It's not going to taste like flour. They burst, and that burst is what causes that airiness. That's what oxygenates the pancake while you cook it.
Kelly, I sure hope you enjoyed this lesson because at this point you've missed your turn on.
Yeah.
On how,
Yeah,
on how
you're
how
done.
The worst one's cooking
so you
segment.
can, so you can,
That's right.
You can thank Terry for taking up your
It's
time.
fine. I'm doing well.
I will do
We
a worse one.
we don't care.
I
At this point,
have already filmed the first 5 episodes.
Terry, you're done. You're done. Okay.
No, I'm saying I've already filmed the first 5 episodes of my new cooking channel. I will do a cooking segment on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the point of my interruption was so that it would stop. Not
Yeah.
Because y'all are taking this to a whole.
I know, and the point of
Betty
me
Crocker.
continuing is to bug you because everybody else is enjoying.
Terry, you bugged me the first episode you logged on. No, I'm just kidding.
All
No,
right.
I love you, Terry.
Every episode, hopefully.
No. If you really bugged me, I wouldn't do a podcast with you. I think you're great for the podcast because you're so purposely controversial, and you don't mind talking out your ass sometimes, and it works.
I don't do it on purpose. This is just if you take somebody with Asperger's and you put them on your podcast, they're gonna say some stuff. You
have Asperger's?
I do, and ADHD too.
Really?
Yeah.
Like an official diagnosis of Asperger's?
Yeah, the funny thing is I do a joke about it in my act because I didn't get diagnosed until I was 35, which, if you didn't know, is not normal.
That's interesting.
But I asked my dad about it one day, and it was like, did you notice any signs that might have shown you that something was up? And he goes, oh yeah, you were definitely different as a kid. And I go, well, why didn't you do anything about it? And he went, I don't know. We didn't do that kind of stuff back then.
That is so interesting, Terry.
We didn't want you to be the weird kid on Ritalin.
That helps me understand you a little more.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
No problem. It's because with me it's all facts and no feelings.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes sense now. Kind of makes sense now, doesn't it? Yeah.
It all makes sense now. It really does.
Yeah.
It does.
But but I am handy to have around because I do have those facts.
But even like the memory, the knowledge, the information that you hold, but then like you said, some of the socialness and the things you say and the in that part that Rudy's talking about, that back and forth, and Terry's gonna say what he wants to say.
Yep. I can give you the perfect pancake recipe right now, but I couldn't tell you what my father's birthday is. I think it's either the 15th or the 16th of August. I can't. For some reason, my brain doesn't hold that information. But
that makes sense. Now that was worth every.
Yeah, it's not an awesome life if you want to know straight out.
Well, and we'll talk. I'm sorry because Rudy's gonna get mad, but I'm a school psychologist, so I work with students. On the spectrum in my, at work every day. I didn't, and it's so funny as an adult, the thought didn't cross my mind. And then when you said it, I was just like, okay.
Yeah. Apparently, according to my psychiatrist, it's very mild, but it's there. So.
Yeah. But like when you said it, I was just like, okay, but it wasn't something that just stood out to me for the last year or so that I've known you. But when you said it, I'm like, okay.
Well, now I don't give a fuck about how I'm doing. So let's just get into the topic. you two have completely taken over. So
now we all 4 of us have something in common now. That's great.
What's that?
We don't give a fuck how you're doing either. That's low hanging fruit, man. You're a comic.
That fruit was on the ground, Terry, and has been for a while.
Okay, I'm still taking it.
There you go.
That's mangoes in your neighbor's yard. That's what that is.
This is your turn, Terry.
No, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it actually the end of times? Why, to elaborate a little bit more, why is it that every generation of Christians seems to think they're living in the end days? Because I've heard this all my life. We're living in the end times. And it's usually just people, the way I see it at least, is people rationalizing things that they can't rationalize without it. or rationalizing things they don't like. You know.
I mean, maybe it's just a really long ending. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just ending for a while. Like it's because it's going to be a big.
I mean
thing,
that very well could be the answer, only because like the whole span of human history in relativity to the rest of the universe is nothing. It's like the blink of an eye.
Right.
The 20,000 years, as far as the universe is concerned, is nothing. You know. So maybe it is. Maybe it.
I'm saying like maybe every generation is seeing a sign from the Bible. Like one generation is seeing a sign, another generation is seeing a sign, and maybe once you see one sign, your mind just thinks that you're seeing all of them, and you'll live to see the rapture or whatever. But realistically, you know, it may just be a dragged out process.
Or maybe if Janessa is going to text during the podcast, she can mute her phone so we don't hear the ding every time it happens.
That's not my phone.
That was me.
Now,
okay,
now apologize.
I thought it was you.
Now apologize.
I apologize too, but you were the one looking down the whole time, so I assumed.
Yeah, apologize.
I said I apologize. Okay, you were
me.
looking down. The evidence was pointing at you. So,
you know what I'm saying? All right.
I have Asperger's. You know, I could just now it's an excuse. I can just throw it out whenever.
Nope, not doing
well,
that.
there's a very clear verse in the Bible that says, "No man shall know the date of Jesus' return," which would be the rapture. And I feel like people just ignore that. It's more cherry picking the Bible, you know, because honestly, like I went through a real crazy phase at one point where I bought into that, and I studied Revelations a lot.
Right. I feel like us as humans, we have to try to make sense of things that don't. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just a natural reaction. Like even that's why I don't run myself crazy, but have ran myself crazy even about the whole free will thing, because like it does when it doesn't have a logical sense to me, my mind tries to wrap something around it. And so of course a lot of Christians turn to the scripture, our thoughts are not his thoughts, our ways are not his ways, as high as the heavens are above the earth, that's how high his thoughts are above ours. I get it, you know what I'm saying, but at the same time that doesn't necessarily stop the human brain from hearing something and then trying to make sense of it. That's just like when people die. If something dies, there's no situation when somebody dies, especially if you know them and you don't want to know how they died. You know what I'm saying? Because you want it to try to, you have to have an ending to this story in your mind. You can't just let something just be a cliffhanger. Like, oh, they dead. Okay, I just show up to the funeral. I don't know how it happened. I don't know why it happened. Like people's minds just don't work like that. So I feel like in the same regard, when it comes down to the end, any little increment of, oh man, like you see all these whatever's, it's the end of times. You know what I'm saying? Like, and as things get accepted, sometimes the goalposts shift. Because at one point in time, people, when being gay was frowned upon, people would have seen a lot of people being gay, and they would have said, "Oh, it's the end of times," because it
was more than frowned upon.
No, but I'm just saying in general. But now that it's not, people may not consider that an end of time, sign or whatever. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for my answer, I guess, is what I'm saying. I feel like humans just naturally try to wrap their head around, like, am I going to be here when the time ends? Am I going to see Jesus? Like, is the rapture going to come and I'm still going to be here? Am I not going to be here? Like, what is that like? They even have a tribulation trail in Atlanta that takes you through that whole thing so that you can almost get like a live experience of what the rapture would look like and all that stuff.
I've done that several times. It's
the tribulation trail.
It's like something you walk through.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah. The day that somebody comes up to you and says, "Renounce Christ, or we're going to kill you," then I'll say that's the end times, because that's a pretty clear marker. Renounce Christ or you die, and in which case I would just die. That seems like a pretty big loophole.
But that has happened just in other countries. It don't happen in America, but that's
you're right. It doesn't happen in America. But again, the day in this country or any other, the day that somebody comes up to me and says, renounce Christ or we're going to kill you, I'm going to be like, well, I guess it's the rapture, so go ahead and kill me, because just being like we talked about with the poker thing, you're just playing the odds at that point. And you're saying like, well, I'm going to die either way, because it's not like they're going to say renounce Christ and, oh, now you're our best friend, come in here. No, they're going to kill you any other way. So it seems like to me that's the biggest loophole in Revelations, is that if you do make it, to the time of tribulation, that you get to basically just make a choice. Like, do you want to die and go to heaven, or do you want to live and renounce Christ? And to me, that's no choice at all. So it's like, why not just take that?
Ladies.
And like I said, I studied Revelations for about a year just to, because I got really into it, which was crazy.
I don't have a comment. I was trying to stop the dinging of my phone, of my computer.
Just mute it.
I didn't know how to do it from my computer, so I've missed most of the conversation. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Janessa's turn.
That's fine.
Okay, so I was gonna read part of Matthew 24, verses 3 through I think 14. So anywho, it says, as Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive
Donald Trump.
And will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All of these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And the gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world, a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. So
that just made this a scary ass podcast. I feel like I was like my heart.
No,
was when you were reading that.
No, it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be scary.
No.
But
it got intense. Go ahead.
So, but to the point though is like we can look at different points in history where there have been the things that these scriptures have talked about, where there have been wars and rumors of war, where there have been famines. There was just an earthquake in the Pacific where there was tsunami warnings for California and China, I think. Like that was just last week. So it's like, I think the reason that each generation feels like they're in the end times is because they're seeing things that the Bible has spoke of happening. Now, like you said, no one knows the day or the time, and that's why you got to be ready. And I think that's partially why sometimes like some of the stuff is happening. So that as Christians, you got to be ready, because if you're ready, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, okay? Because you don't know. But to kind of keep us on our toes sometimes, and I mean, this might not be what God was intending, but I kind of feel like
that makes sense though.
We go through the things he's saying so that we aren't so lackadaisical, like, oh, we got all this time. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to live my life however I want to because, I got all this time, and that might not be the case. That's all.
No, that's deep. I mean, it's like low key, like God giving us the inside scoop. You know what I'm saying? Now, and when I say us, anybody who actually reads it and believes it. You know what I'm saying? Like you get in the play before it actually happened. Like you start seeing this shit, and you still out here bullshitting. That's your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like I gave it to you plain, and to that point, I feel like because those signs, like, because life is apparently a long thing, and I don't mean individual lives, but I'm saying like just it from the start of time in between it being the end of time. Like there's a lot of time that has passed. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like because time, I guess, is so spread out, especially with lives, like I guess it makes sense why the signs would be spread out as well. Because just imagine if our great-great-grandparents and our great-grandparents and then our grandparents, they ain't get no signs. Like they was never aware of anything. They would have never pushed it on us. Like, man, that shit in the Bible ain't real. I ain't never seen that. But if you see it, I can pass it down generations. Like, hey, you need to watch out for this. And now that you're aware, now you looking for stuff, and then now you see something else. And then it just keeps going generation to generation of awareness. Because if people didn't see it before you, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal for you to then try to.
There may be something to that, Rudy, because that's very similar to a sermon my father has preached many times on on Genesis, because people say, "Oh, well, you're telling me God created the earth in a day, all the animals in a day, the universe in a day, and a day, and a day, and a day." Yeah, but maybe that's a day to God, and a day to God is not a day to you. Maybe a day to God is an epoch, or maybe it's
Bible talks about that. It says
maybe
like
it's
a day
a
with
millennium.
God is like 1,000. A day with God is like 1,000 years on earth.
Right. It could be a millennium, So there's room for debate on that. Personally, I believe that this entire argument of why every generation, because you can go back hundreds of years and still have this documented that they thought they were living in the end times. That's basically how Mormonism started. Joseph Smith showed up in a field and said that God was returning and that he knew it. And a few followers showed up and they waited in the field. Obviously, God didn't show up. So he said, "Oh, I got the math wrong." And then a year later, he's like, "This is the day." And more people showed up. And then the next year, because God didn't come again, but the next year, even more people showed up and showed up and showed up and showed up. I think that's the Church of the Latter-day Saints. I can't remember. It's one of those. But essentially, they grew that religion, a Christ-based religion, out of failure. He just kept failing and people kept showing up, and the more he failed, the more people showed up. And I thought, man, when I read that, I thought, why would people do that? And I honestly think the answer is pretty easy. I think it has to do with human ego. I think that we find it a lot more comforting to think that we won't die, but the whole world will die with us. You know what I mean? It's not just by saying that, just think about it, because we've all thought like, oh, we're going to die someday. But think about it. If you thought, yeah, I'm going to die someday, but when I die, everybody else dies with me, isn't that a little more comforting? I mean, it's horrible, but isn't it more comforting to think like, well, I don't want to die, and then somebody's like, well, everybody's doing it, and then you're like, okay, all right, I'll give it a try. You know what I mean? Like it makes it more palatable. So I think it has to do with human ego directly, that it's just easier to think that you're living in the end times and you're not going to die and leave your family behind. You're not going to die and leave the world behind. It's not going to spin without you. You're going to go with everybody because the whole world is going to go. Because again, it's been hundreds of years of this. You think people would wise up, but they don't.
Do you think that do y'all think that there's life like on other planets? And if so, because I guess because I'm thinking about like when the end of times come, like is that for planet Earth and humans, or is that like the planets, stars, whatever? You know what I'm saying? Like what all is ending when this happens?
I've talked too much. I'm going to let the ladies go.
I was trying to find the scripture, but the Bible talks about, that, and then there'll be a new heaven and a new earth. And I always wondered what that really meant, because us, when we die and go to heaven, that's it. Heaven is the end for us. But when I hear new heaven and new earth, sometimes I wonder, like, so is another wave of like people gonna come and
Right.
do this again?
Right.
I don't know. I also
it's like God got like different little games in this. It's really like,
so let me tell you, I have two
this
other things.
earth.
Y'all gonna
All
think
right.
I'm weird. Two
Jesus,
things.
come back to this one. I'm done.
So y'all remember Men in Black 2 at the very end when they go into the what was like the cabinet or whatever, and then it turns out we're like a marble and a bunch of marbles, and
That
like
was Men in Black 1.
Huh?
That was Men in Black 1.
That one, but like sometimes I do think about that. I'm like, are we just like one little speck in this whole thing? And there's like even bigger thingies that are playing games with us. That, and then I also had another kind of theory philosophy. This is recent, that's why I'm excited about it. What if when galaxies or stars explode or whatever, that's the birth of a new timeline of heaven and earth? Right. I don't know. And it's just been going on for so long. And that's why we have so many galaxies and we have so many stars that we see. Now
it is an expanding universe. That's been proven.
This is a far-fetched. This is just me being crazy, but
it's not.
I did think
you're
about
actually
it.
You're closer to the path than you think you are.
But yeah, maybe I don't know.
Do you think with that, like, so just say there is a new Earth, right? There is a new wave of human life or whatever, right? do you think that like just say history will be different? So like whatever happened for us in our wave, they'll have a totally different experience. So just say there may not be a Holocaust or slavery or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think it'll be like that, or is it just, literally another wave of? Or how many new heavens and earth? Like, is Jesus just constant? That's what I'm saying. Is he hopping from, generation to generation or whatever, light year to light year? Like, he's just like, all right, coming back here. Is he having to die like multiple times? You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
It depends. Are humans there? Because if humans there, there's going to be some slaves, and not necessarily saying it's going to be the black population. I know that's where everybody will go, but let's just remember there's been many other forms of slavery. There's slavery today. And every great human accomplishment has been accomplished by slavery. Let's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just human nature. It just is. If I'm powerful and you're weak, you're working for me, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
What? Like, how do they build those pyramids? Oh, they just threw a bunch of Jews at them and didn't care what happened to them. How did we traverse a nation?
I don't know. I
with a railroad.
I understand
we blew
what
up a bunch of Chinese people.
No,
we didn't care.
I understand what you're saying. I just wasn't clear, I guess, on. Oh, anyways, Kelly, do you have anything to contribute to this conversation?
Not really.
I knew that's what she's gonna say.
When I saw the topic for the day, my first thought was, I don't know, because it wasn't worded like this when Terry put it in the chat. Not this exactly, but I was like, I don't know if I ever thought about, is this the end of time? As we discussed here, like, I see why, the question was brought up, and I definitely see where people have, talked about, because these things have happened on earth and it relates to what it said in the Bible, that this might be the end of time. But maybe I'm just selfish. Maybe I just think about my little space in the world and how long I'm gonna live, and I don't think beyond
right
beyond that. I try to live my life as best as possible to align with what the Lord would want me to do. And I don't know if I really thought about, this is the end of time. We're all going to die together, because I'm gonna live my life right. I'm a good, wholesome Christian. So it doesn't matter, like Janessa said, stay ready and you don't have to get ready. So if the Lord decides to take me today, Lord, I hope I make it to heaven. Please forgive me for all my sins.
Wow. Jesus Christ. Did you just
that took a turn.
Okay.
Dear Lord, please forgive me for all of my sins. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
But those known and unknown.
You do realize that you don't have to keep saying that, right? Like, when he died, and you believe that that's the forgiveness.
So then I can just go and do what I want and say what
I didn't say you could do what you want. I'm saying you don't have to go to God and ask for forgiveness after you've already accepted how he forgave you, is what I'm saying.
It all comes down to John 3:16, which is why it's the most famous verse in the Bible. He whosoever believeth in me shall never die, but enter the kingdom of heaven. That's it.
So do I not acknowledge to God that I realized I was wrong?
You can acknowledge to God that you were wrong because he knows you're infallible, because he made you, and he knows that, he made you infallible, or he knows that he made you fallible, and you're a man and you make mistakes and you're not like him. Like Rudy said earlier, he's on a different plane. And he's basically saying, as long as you believe in me, you can be flawed, you can be fallible, and but you're still going to get to go as long as you just put your faith in me.
And what I was saying, Kelly, is like, so you don't like, it's not like after you sin, like at the end of this week, like I gotta go to God and ask for forgiveness for the sins to cover these ones that I just did that were new. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like, it's you accepting Christ,
right? So I get that
covers that, right?
No, correct.
Right. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you can't pray that prayer or whatever. All I'm saying is that the power is what you've already done. It's not in that particular.
And I hear what you're saying, and I guess for me, I see it as, and though, well, I'll say my parents, and though their love may not be as unconditional as God's, but I see it the same way. Like if I've wronged my parents, I want to address that.
Right, but your parents didn't do anything to forgive every time that you wronged them. You feel what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, because I got to get into it with Kelly here in a second. So go ahead. Finish up.
In my daily conversations with the Lord, and I talk to the Lord about everything, and so if there's a space where I know that, man, I've done something wrong, and it may not even be forgiveness of, whatever, because I know that I'm forgiven. It's, Lord, I am acknowledging that I sinned. I am acknowledging that I don't know what sins I do, but whatever sins I do, that I've sinned, and and me saying that I know that it's not okay for me to continue to do this, though I may, but I'm acknowledging that. I understand that, right? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Like, I get that. But like I said, to me, it's my conversation with God. Like, man, because there's some things that I've sinned and I don't remember, but I know that he's covered them all.
Right.
That's the beauty of being a Christian. That's the beauty of accepting Christ.
And it's not about the sin.
But just real quick, Terry, before you go, what I'm saying is you're not incorrect for doing that, is what I'm saying. I wasn't saying it to say stop, or because however you pray, or however, if it makes you feel better, or that's what you and God want to do, I'm not trying to alter that. I'm just making you aware, because I know for myself, at least, and I won't push this on you, for myself, I definitely used to put a lot of power in the asking for forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? Like to basically cover something that I've done or about to do. Like, I mean, I've even asked for forgiveness before I've had sex with girls before when I was a teenager, because in my mind, I'm conscious of it, and I'm saying, like, Lord, forgive both of us. You know what I'm saying? So, but
we did that.
But and to be clear, even on something that you said earlier, nothing that I'm saying has anything to do with saying this is a free card to sin. I'm not saying go and be wild because God covered you. I'm saying if you so happen to do something, whether you know that it's wrong or you don't know it's wrong, you going to God to cover that sin in prayer. Prior to that prayer, that sin was already covered.
Understood.
And so if you still have that prayer, perfectly fine. You're not doing anything wrong. Right.
Lord. Yeah.
Right.
That's what I was saying. Yeah. Just
right.
my conversation with the Lord.
Well,
Terry,
it has nothing to do with the sin. Again, you have to go back to John 3:16. It's why it's the most famous verse in the Bible. It's not about your sin. It's about your belief. He whosoever believeth in me. That's as far as you need to go. Is he whosoever believeth in me. Your sin makes you fallible, which you're born fallible, which is why Christ came to earth in the first place, was to absolve you of your sins that you were given the day you were born. You were never going to be infallible. You were never going to be Christ-like. You can try and achieve it. You can try and attain it. You can try and be Christ-like as much as you want, but you're never going to be. The second you entered this world, you were a sinner, which was the whole point, was to give you a chance for redemption. Say, if you believe in me, you'll never die. You'll enter the gates of heaven, which seems like something that people would want to believe, 2,200 years ago, because death was scary and they didn't understand it. This is the same time in history where people thought that illnesses were caused by ghosts. You know what I mean? Like it was an unevolved time. So you kind of have to think about it like that. I think that the Bible is there was this old adage, like an old anecdote that they used to say when I was a teenager. It says, Bible, Bible. That's basic instructions before leaving Earth. Right. Which is a stupid acronym that somebody just made up. It doesn't mean anything. But I think it led me to a good thought, which is basically like if you believe in God and you really put your faith in him and you live your life in faith in him, you will reach heaven regardless of what sins you commit. However, the Bible is giving you instructions on how to lead a good life here on earth. It's trying to tell you how to lead the best life you can here on earth. God takes pleasure in you being successful or you being happy. So you're doing it for God's pleasure, but you're not doing it for his approval, which is different. Like take, for instance, premarital sex, which is one that most people have cast off at this point. Is premarital sex is a sin. Call it a sin if you want to, but think about this way. If you went 25 years, the first 25 years of your life, never having sex with anybody, you met a person, fell deeply in love with them, they had never had sex with anybody, and then you guys got to share that one thing that nobody in the world ever got to have, wouldn't that make for a better marriage? Just naturally, there would be less jealousy, there would be less envy, there would be less resentment, there would be less suspicion. You know what I mean? Like, you would take away a lot of the evil out of your relationship just by having that one thing. Do I agree with it? Personally, I didn't when I was younger, and I've already crossed that bridge. But if I had to go back, I would say, yeah, that would probably be awesome. That would probably be awesome to be married to a woman that's never felt the touch of another man except for me. And I think it would be equally as awesome for her. So is it an archaic kind of draconian rule? Yes. But would it make for a better relationship? Absolutely. But then again, people only lived to be like 35 back then. So when they talk about not having sex before marriage, they're like, oh, you're 15, still a virgin? Good to go. You know what I mean? Like that's the way it was back then. By 15, 16, you were already married, having kids. So you kind of have to think about it in both secular and non-secular ways, because it was a time in history. We have records of it. There are scrolls. We can, there are archaeological finds. Like, we can prove some of these things. That's why the Shroud of Turin is such a big controversial thing. Was this really the cloth that was put over Jesus, or was it not? It can be proven one way or the other. There's no way to DNA match, but it's not the point. The point is that I think that the Bible should be used more as an instruction manual on how to have a good life here on earth. When it comes to faith, if you believe in God and expect to see heaven because of it, when you die, then you probably will. Because otherwise it's a very flawed system. Because you're telling me Jeffrey Dahmer, who killed and ate people, recants on his deathbed, and now I got to share heaven with him? Like, come on. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work otherwise.
I mean, and even speaking to the whole instruction thing, I think it goes back to what Janessa said about, the Bible telling us what the signs are, and then you actually see them happening. You know what I'm saying? That's just like...
you don't see them happening.
Christmas. I mean,
well, not in reality. It's a. This is actually good for Kelly.
Terry, I'm still talking.
All right, my bad. You're right. I get Asperger's. I get off on a
now
tangent.
all of we've been here a year and a half now.
You can't open the door to this floodgate. It all comes out.
But yeah, the instructions, the signs. I think they'll be around, even longer than us. I mean, my hope, even to Kellie's selfishness, I kind of take part in that. Like, I just really hope that I get to live a long life, and the end doesn't. I mean, if the end comes, it still comes at the end of that long life. Like, I wouldn't want it to happen if I was like, obviously I'm past this age, but if I was like 23 years old, I think anybody who, just imagine like the end of the world comes like right before you get drafted to the NFL or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you'll know it in heaven, but that would be pretty.
That's a really
you know what I'm saying?
That's a really shitty way to look at it.
You know what I'm saying? Or it's the day of, right before they call your name. It's like boom.
I'll tell you what. When the moon turns.
Terry.
Oh, you're still going. All right. Wait. Sorry. Go ahead.
But I'm saying, but to my selfishness, just like Kellie kind of admitted, I do hope that I get to. I mean, even outside of the end of the world, just before I die in general. But when it comes down to just say the end of times and Jesus' return, I would definitely selfishly like to fulfill not only the desires of my heart, but even just what I feel like God has purposed me to do, here on earth. Like I would definitely be, if I was allowed to be disappointed in heaven, I feel like I would definitely be disappointed in heaven if it happened, prematurely. Now I'm done, Terry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then the ding from Kellie's computer. That was so perfect. That was so perfect. What I was going to say was, look, when the moon turns blood red and the sun turns black as sackcloth, then I'm on board. You know what I mean? When rivers turn red, I'm on board. But until I see all of that happening in a similar time period, and I was going to say, this is actually really, I want Kellie to pay attention to this, because these are actually disorders. There's one called pareidolia, and then there's another one called apophenia, and this is basically where you're seeing patterns where there aren't any. It's kind of like looking, it's a good example they use is when you're looking at clouds and you see things that aren't there, but your mind kind of makes them there because you kind of adapt it. It's kind of like when somebody, early in my comedy career, somebody told, I got a number of people, they're like, oh, you look like Christian Bale, but only if he put on a few pounds. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. So I made a joke out of it. But then I found out there was a whole nother group of people that says you look nothing like Christian Bale. You know what I mean? So it's people seeing things where there aren't any. And we can do that with everything. We can do that with anything. Normally people do it with opinions that they already want to believe. They want to believe those things. So it makes it a lot easier for them to kind of put the pieces together and say, oh, we are in the end times. Because look at this war, or look at that war, or look at this turmoil, or that turmoil, or this, or that, or that. And they can cite you examples. It's the same thing Nostradamus used to do. He was basically just playing the odds. He was playing the odds, which is why some of his predictions came true and some of them didn't. Because he was playing the odds on what was going to happen. He was saying, he wasn't a future teller. A fortune teller. He couldn't see the future. He was just playing the odds on what could happen in mankind and what couldn't, which is why half of his stuff never existed and half of it did come true, because he was betting on black and red. You know what I mean? And that's what we do today. We see patterns where there really are none, but we want to believe the end result. We start with the conclusion, and then we find evidence to support the conclusion we started with, which is like the opposite of the scientific method, which is where you're supposed to follow the evidence to the conclusion.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, but
Okay.
I do
Well,
have a question for all y'all because y'all didn't answer it earlier. We can start with you, Kelly. Y'all never answered. Do you think that there's life on other planets outside of Earth? I'm just out of curiosity. It's no right or wrong answer.
Well, this is not a question. There is. We already proved it.
I definitely said Kelly. Okay.
All right.
And I was gonna say whatever the science says.
I'm talking about your thoughts. Just your thoughts.
I mean, my thoughts would be whatever the science says. I don't know. But to the point that you were making when you asked that question, just kind of hypothetically, do I think that, you know, if the Lord transitioned from, you know, if there was a new world, do they have the same history that we do?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I hope not. Like, I hope that, you know, there's another world out there that he goes to. I hope that they have a whole nother life, a whole other history. I think that would be pretty cool, pretty fun. But yeah, like I said, I think science says that there's life on other planets. I don't know.
Go ahead, Terry.
You know, just to speak on what Kelly was saying real quick, my father actually used to have a theory about heaven and hell, about how they were different planets. And, you know, and when you died, that's where your spirit went. It either went to basically what is planet heaven or planet hell. But there's no debate about this. We've already found life on Mars. We've found fossilized life on Mars. I mean, it was, you know, it's bacterial, but it's life. It's alive. You know, we've already found it. Like, it definitely exists. The question is whether intelligent life lives on other planets. And I would like to believe that there is. In fact, I think the likelihood that there is actual physical life still existing on a different planet, the odds of that being true are a lot higher than the odds of God existing. Only because when you do the math on this, you're talking about an infinite number of planets spread across hundreds of thousands of galaxies. You know, our little galaxy is just one. But we know that there are hundreds of thousands of galaxies in an ever-expanding universe, which is constantly, we know this because of Stephen Hawking, he proved it, that the universe is constantly expanding. It's constantly getting bigger. So to think that out of hundreds of thousands of galaxies, trillions of planets, that life only found its way here, I mean, it would be like winning the lottery 100 times in a row while getting attacked by a shark and getting struck by lightning all at the same time on Christmas Day. Like, the numbers are astronomical. But if God created Earth and God created man, I don't think he really has rules on where he wants to create other life either.
Gotcha.
You know,
Janessa?
You know, I don't know. I agree that
I like that answer. I don't know. That's what I go with. I don't know.
I agree that like bacteria and eukaryotes and prokaryotes, I don't know. I'm just throwing out terms from biology. Exist
Doing a good job
on other planets. I do. But one thing that I've recently kind of been trying to wrap my head around is, you know, the things we see, even like the fruit, certain animals were not the same fruits and animals God made when he said he, you know, let there be light and let there be this and let there be that. And, you know, I would even venture to say we don't even know what the creatures look like that God created at the beginning of time. So
100% on board with this. I love what's happening.
So who's to say that the bacteria and the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes and the whoever, whatever, is also what God created? Other places he also created on Earth, but you know, as we evolved and whatever, this is what we've become. And you know, they might evolve and become something else, or they have evolved and become what they are. You know, I don't know. We're literally just this big in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
Janessa, I love you so much right now. You're my favorite
So,
right now. I
don't know. I don't know. at the end of the day, though, I trust God. And I will say that the things, I try to find God in everything. And like when I see it lightning and, you know, this is the thing that gets me. Have you ever seen lightning and then it be so loud that your whole house or your car shakes or whatever? And it like immediately strikes fear into me. I'll be like, God, I'm sorry. I mean, do it. Like the power of God is just amazing to me. And so I would not put it past him to say, oh, he can't do that. I'm never going to put God in a box and be like, he could not create.
That's that
Afrophenia on Mars again. Or whatever. So whatever is out there is whatever it is. I'm still on Team Jesus, and that's how it's going to be.
But see, this is the brilliant side of this. Is that again? It comes down to ego. It comes down to that Afrophenia again, which is Janessa hears lightning, sees lightning, hears thunder, it rattles her house. She automatically thinks it has something to do with her, which it doesn't. It has nothing to do with her.
I didn't say it had to do anything with me. I just recognize the power of God in that moment.
I get it. I used to think this when I was a teenager. I used to think the same things whenever I saw a really nice tree. I would think about it. That thing started out as a seed, and for some reason, something inside that seed combined with oxygen and nitrogen and sunlight and just burst forth light. And then 100 years later, here's this huge banyan tree that stands and science, as much as I love science, they can tell you how the tree grew. They can tell you why the tree grew. They can tell you what's best for the tree, what's bad for the tree. They can tell you everything about the tree, but they still, to this day, cannot tell you what makes that seed spring forth life. They still can't tell you that. And they can't even tell you that about us. They can't tell you why, when that sperm meets that egg, life is created. They cannot get down to the nucleus of that. And that's what gets me so fired up about subjects like this, is because I love science. I've studied it my whole life. I love biology. I love astrophysics and studying all these things. I do it in my free time. But when you mix that with theology, you can really get to a really kind of cool understanding of, like Janessa said, I don't know. Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest astrophysicists the world has ever known, said when somebody asked him on camera, they said, do you believe in God? His answer was, I can neither prove nor disprove God, so I do not have an answer. I have no more evidence to disprove God than I have evidence to prove him. That, you know what I mean? So to me, what that leaves me with is, you know what I go off of? I go off the one thing that humankind has that no other organism on this planet has, and that is a conscience. I feel like our conscience is our direct connection to whatever, whether God is a man with a beard living in the clouds, like the paintings would depict, or whether it's just the energy that holds life together in the universe. Whatever it is, there is something to us that makes us more evolved. And we do have that feeling of guilt. Like, you can raise a baby in a room alone with nobody, but if that baby was to grow into a 10-year-old and then you show that 10-year-old human suffering, they will feel empathy naturally from inside. That's something that other animals just don't have. No other species has that. So I would say follow that.
Yeah, you lost me a long time ago. But my answer,
I knew that I would.
my answer to this is that, honestly, when it comes down to planets, like, I don't know is when it comes their existence. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying planets don't exist, but like, I don't feel like every person in the world has seen planets. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I don't like if there's a select few people who are saying that
I've seen planets.
But there's you know.
Well, I got a telescope right over there. You can have a telescope and see planets.
Oh, gosh.
What?
I'm just congrats to you, I guess. But what I'm saying is, so when it comes down to me, like, I don't necessarily just, and once again, I don't have a theory or a reason or thinking that planets are bad or they're just making this up to try to, There's nothing behind that. I'm just saying when it comes down to life being on other planets, I'm just not even sure about other planets. Because for me, I've definitely never seen them. I've only seen the Earth. I've seen the sun. I've seen the moon. You know what I'm saying? I've seen stars. I've never seen planets. So
I'm
for
going to
me,
send you a telescope, buddy.
that's fine. But my answer for right now, regardless of whatever I don't need nobody to try to prove it because he's not going to change my mind tonight. I'm just saying I don't have a theory against planets. I don't think planets are evil. I don't think it's a part of the signs. It's nothing like that. All I'm saying is when it comes down to life in general, my question of I don't know is even to the planet's existence at all. So there's that. Kellie Lee, it's on you. You can.
Is that how we're going to end it with planets might not exist?
Yeah.
All right, church announcements on Instagram. Make sure you follow us at The Worst Ones PK. And then if you want to share in the experience of the podcast, make sure that you listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. If you want to see our lovely faces, we're on YouTube. For all platforms, type in The Worst Ones Podcast. Make sure when you get there to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you to all of our 500,100,000 followers. We love y'all. At Princess Kells 51. It is still private.
Wow. But you are
They ain't
accepting.
never changed it.
You say you are accepting requests though.
I do accept some requests now.
I am bringing you no more spices, no more nothing until this is public.
I can't do it.
I said she baby steps. She said she accepts some people.
Embrace the world.
You can find me.
Selfish. I'm in my own little bubble. Sorry, Janessa.
No, you're fine. But you can find me at Melanated Brews for all things coffee, tea, and beer. We have fun over there. And then you can find me at JBrianna__ for my personal page that I actually don't really post to, but go for it.
There you go.
I noticed that today.
I bet I haven't been on that one. Because I'm terrible at Instagram. I really am. I'll admit it. I don't know how it works. I don't know how the filters work. I just figured out one today, and I sent you the picture.
Yeah.
The
means
Disney
TikTok's
thing.
just gonna go right over your head.
No, TikTok's easier in my opinion. than Instagram.
It's churching out. Churching out.
Okay. Terry Wing Comedy at all social media platforms. I also want to say that, to Spotify, like either Joe Rogan's podcast goes or our podcast goes. I think I'm going to take Neil Young's side on this argument. So if you want to lose a Spotify, for Joe Rogan, I guess. Nobody knows about what's going on. Never mind.
It's just church announcements. It's just not. It's not time to delve.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to throw some entertainment in here. My bad.
The podcast is over. We've been on over an hour now. At Rudy of All Trades is my personal page. At the podcast official page is the other podcast that I host. We actually just shot the episode, so you have to wait another month if you want to join us. But we shoot it live on Zoom. 815-499-0955 is the Zoom ID if you want to join.
I love the new background, by the way, Rudy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Tampa in the podcast studio where what this was built for, I guess. So it's it's a little more decoration. And it's
great.
Kelly's sitting there shaking her head. Same thing I told Janessa. We do this online. We don't have a studio anywhere, so there's no reason for me to have a background that says The Worst Ones if we're not all four there.
Yeah, that's fine.
No. I'm talking to Kellie. I'm talking to Kellie because she's shaking her head at me, and Janessa already chewed me out earlier. But
good, thank you, because I got on. I was late, which is why I didn't say. Does he have a whole background of his other podcast?
It's a whole podcast studio for the other podcast. That's what you're not realizing.
Yeah. He cares more about that one than this one.
But I'm pretty sure that you could turn the camera and sit another way, and where you just see the purple wall.
No,
because then it's cross promotional. This is called synergy.
It'll be purple and white.
Okay.
What is it with black people in purple? I've never understood that. Everybody, what is that? I don't. Maybe you guys could help me. What?
That was the most racist shit you said since you've been on this.
Dude,
podcast.
you can say that all you want to.
I'm just kidding with you. All right,
the evidence is there.
I've never known that it was a thing with purple, but it's fine.
It is. Look for it.
We're done. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for listening. We have been the worst ones. Please follow, like, subscribe, and most of all, share.
2222.
Top of the world.